Funny how a moment everyone else treats as meaningless becomes the one detail that flips the entire script. A wallet on the floor, a shoulder bumped in the hallway, a stranger struggling with something no one else bothers to notice. You step in without thinking, without waiting for applause, without calculating how it affects your image. And the crowd hates that. They mock the simplicity of it. They call it foolish, unnecessary. Because in their world, kindness is a weakness and indifference is a badge of survival. But the universe doesn't operate on their logic. It operates on tension, timing, and delicious twists. A tiny act of help spirals into something none of them were prepared to witness. Because the man you helped, the one they smirked at, isn't lost. He isn't random. He isn't harmless. He's an undercover agent who saw everything they missed in you. The shift begins long before the truth is spoken aloud. He watches your reactions, your posture, your silence. He notices how you hold yourself when surrounded by people who misunderstand you. Not defensive, not desperate, just steady. Observing, a calm pulse in a noisy room. That composure triggers something instinctive in a man trained to read intent faster than most people read a sentence. Meanwhile, the same people who mocked your gesture feel a discomfort they can't name yet. Something about his gaze unsettles them. Something about the way he acknowledges you makes them rethink every assumption they made. They remember every laugh, every insult, every little gesture of superiority. They feel the air thicken as if the room itself is waiting for the punchline. Then comes the part that exposes the cracks in their confidence. The agent lets a small detail slip, a phrase too tactical, a reaction too controlled, a stance that belongs in conflict, not conversation. And suddenly those around you feel the reality they never expected pressing against their skin. They realize the man they dismissed could dismantle them without raising his voice. They realize the person they mocked for helping him now stands in the center of attention none of them can handle. But you remain silent. That silence is what cuts deepest. It shows that you were never competing with them. You were standing apart from the start. And now that distance has become a spotlight they can't escape. Everything becomes more uncomfortable for them when the agent directs his questions toward you alone. He asks where you learned to move with such stillness. He asks what made you step in so quickly. He doesn't speak to the others. He doesn't acknowledge their presence. His interest exposes their irrelevance, and nothing terrifies an insecure crowd more than irrelevance. They expected the world to revolve around their noise. They expected their laughter to define the narrative. But an undercover operative doesn't respond to noise. He responds to intent. He responds to energy. And his instincts tell him to pay attention to the quiet figure who acted without waiting for validation. Conversations around you fade into whispers, but even those whispers feel fragile now. People begin reevaluating their own behavior. They replay the moment you helped him. They remember how quickly they judged you. They remember the certainty with which they dismissed your action. And now they feel exposed. Not by you, not by the agent, exposed by their own shallow instincts. That's the irony. You never needed to lift a finger. You never needed to argue, defend yourself, or prove anything. Their own behavior is the confession. The undercover agent's presence is the mirror. They see themselves reflected, and the reflection is small, petty, forgettable. The agent studies you with the precision of someone trained to find cracks in people. Yet what he finds is something different, something stable, something centered. He reads the way you listen before speaking. He reads the restraint in your silence. He reads the lack of desperation in your eyes. To a man built on secrets, that is the rarest trait of all, a mind not shaped by external approval. Without realizing it, you reveal more strength in one quiet moment than most people reveal in a lifetime of noise. And that realization forces the entire environment to shift in your favor. Nothing about you changed. Their perception shattered. A private conversation forms between you and the agent, even without stepping aside. Every word he speaks is directed at you. Every question he asks excludes the others. He lowers his voice slightly, not to hide anything, but to show that the conversation's gravity belongs to one person. This is the moment that destroys the hierarchy they built in their minds. They spent so long assuming they sat above you. But hierarchy dissolves when someone with real power chooses to acknowledge the one they overlooked. It's almost poetic. The same people who mocked your instinct now scramble internally, wishing they had acted with even half your depth. Eventually, the agent reveals just enough about himself to make everything undeniable. A coded badge. A phrase only someone in the field would understand. A tone that carries the weight of operations the public never hears about. He isn't bragging. Undercover agents don't brag. He's simply letting you see the magnitude of the moment they mocked. And it burns them. It burns them because the universe rewarded your sincerity in a way their games never could. It burns them because your silence held more strength than their pride. It burns them because the truth humiliated their certainty without a single word from you. When he finally steps back, he doesn't nod to the crowd. He nods to you. A subtle acknowledgement, but heavier than applause. It says more than a thank you. It says he recognized something real. It says your instinct was sharper than their judgment. It says the world works differently for people who move with integrity instead of noise. And once he leaves, the silence he leaves behind is violent. No one dares meet your eyes. No one dares pretend they understood the moment better than you. Their arrogance disintegrated the moment truth entered the room. The universe reveals its humor in moments that feel almost accidental, yet somehow perfectly orchestrated. It lets a situation play out innocently, quietly, without warning anyone that a punchline is loading beneath the surface. Life loves setups, slow ones, subtle ones, the kind that lure an entire room into believing they understand the story. The joke, of course, is that the room never understands anything. The real twist arrives when the smallest action becomes the catalyst for something disproportionately powerful. A simple gesture of support turns into a spotlight that exposes every hidden insecurity in the environment. People think they're in control of their narrative, but the universe enjoys rearranging the script with a single nudge. That irony becomes sharper when the outcome humiliates the assumptions built before the truth walked in. There's a certain charm in how chaos picks its moments. It doesn't always explode loudly. Sometimes it drips slowly, revealing only enough to make people question their own instincts. The universe prefers that style. It lets the audience feel comfortable first. It allows the egos in the room to strut, to puff, to smirk. Then it rotates the stage ever so slightly, just enough for reality to slip through the cracks. When an undercover agent turns out to be the stranger everyone dismissed, the humor becomes undeniable. Suddenly, every earlier judgment transforms into a confession of ignorance. The room realizes the punchline isn't just surprising, it's humiliating. And that humiliation is what makes the universe laugh hardest. Consider how often life holds its cards until the moment everyone least expects it. People walk around believing their assessments are accurate, believing their perceptions are grounded. Meanwhile, the universe hoards information the same way a trickster hides dynamite in a birthday cake. The twist lands when the truth explodes in slow motion, leaving expressions stretched in disbelief. A stranger who blended into the background turns out to be the one person no one should have underestimated.